jump back into the video category. This is another one that's not an obvious choice until you see it hooked up, I think. That's the madVR NV Core. What are they doing that your regular TV or projector can't already do?
They're processing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that they do in this entry level processor, which entry level is still $5,800, is HDR tone mapping. That's something that it's hard for a lot of projector and display makers to get really right. So what they do is they actually they allow you to put in your TV model number or even the exact peak luminance of your display, whether it's a projector on a screen or a flat panel. And if that's, say, like 350 nits, which, on a projector is actually really respectable, then they'll take the incoming HDR signal, which might have been mastered for 4,000 nits, and they will map it so that it fits the available luminance of your projector or TV. What that means is that when there's a dark scene, you can still see the shadow details. And when there's a sunset or, there's areas of specular highlights up in the clouds, you can still see those as well. So HDR tone mapping is something that can make or break a display. But if you have this projector that can do it, this processor that can do it for you, then it can take a good display and turn it into an amazing display. It's not the only thing they do. They do some clever features with subtitles where they can move it out of the letterbox area and into the screen in case you've zoomed in your letterbox image to fit a 2.4 to 1 screen, right? You got some letterboxed CinemaScope content and you want it to fill up a CinemaScope screen. The madVR can strip the subtitle out of the black area at the bottom, which is now no longer visible since you zoomed that away, and it can put it at the bottom of the picture. So that's a very cool feature I've never seen any other processor do. You can do it on a kaleidoscope, but only for the content that's on the kaleidoscope. In this case, it can work with a streamer or a Blu-ray player or anything and just put the subtitles where they need to be. So that's kind of a cool feature.
Ealan, did you get to check out the madVR?
Yeah, I actually got to have a demonstration by Richard Latovsky, the CEO.
Yeah, the CEO.
And man, because it kind of piggybacking off of the subtitle thing, not only can it shift it upwards so you can actually see it, but it's they now have dynamic coloring, right, so that whatever happens to be on the screen, it will shift the colors of the subtitles itself to kind of blend in a little bit more to the picture, so it's not so just like,
but also still be readable.
White.
Right.
Yeah, but also still be readable because they also have this little background, this kind of transparent background behind the subtitles as well. And you can change the size of the subtitles. So they've got so many different little things that really help those who watch everything with subtitles, like myself. Even though I can hear pretty well, my wife has some pretty bad tinnitus. So we're always watching stuff with subtitles. But it's also kind of just the norm nowadays.
Sure.
People just watch subtitles even though they can probably hear just fine. So it's kind of capitalizing on that fact that, 80-90% of the people watch everything with subtitles nowadays. So it's just making it that much better. But I was really impressed with the HDR tone mapping as well. Like they showed this, and this was on a Sony Bravia 9 television, something that can handle HDR tone mapping on its own very well. And yet, they had this particular scene that they're shown with snow on the ground and horses. And he showed it to me without HDR tone mapping on, just what the TV would do on its own. And then he switched over to the madVR version. And all of a sudden you could see so many more details in the snow, like all these little blades of grass coming out that were nowhere to be seen previously. So it was really impressive. And one other thing I want to hit on is, I don't know, it's kind of controversial because a lot of people don't like motion smoothing on TVs anyway, because it gives it that soap opera look. But they do have AI, like
MotionAI.
MotionAI, which now, but you can also set it to different strengths.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be like on or off. You can actually set it to a little bit, medium, a lot. Insane, I think, is one of the categories.
Oh, really? No ludicrous?
not on this one.
No
maybe in a future firmware update. But it's like he showed me just the very lowest setting, because we were watching Baby Driver.
Oh yeah,
and it's the very intro scene where he's moving around and just kind of going along the streets, and there's a lot of judder because of the 24p that it was filmed in. And man, because I've always been a fan of, like, I want it to look cinematic, so I don't care if it has that judder because that just looks cinematic to me. But when he switched it to the lowest setting, it just took it off enough to where it still looked cinematic, but it wasn't as jarring when you're having panning
I agree.
shots. And I was like, well, I think I'm convinced now because, now that you mention it, it is a bit jarring. So to have it shaved off just a little bit, I think I kind of like it. So it's pretty impressive what they're coming out with.
Yeah, the only drawback, the MotionAI is not on the core; it's only on the NVX.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's the $16,000 or $17,000 processor, and the colored subtitles feature that you were talking about, where it looks ahead to the screen to see what colors are going to be in use and then optimizes the subtitle. That's part of an upgrade option for the NV core, which costs an additional like $12.95. So the base level still has a lot of cool features. It does some, speaking of controversial, it also can do some aspect ratio games that can like make, let's say, a football game that's 16:9 still look amazing on a CinemaScope screen. And they're really looking at that image very closely to make sure that they're not cutting off any essential information and they're not stretching or squeezing the image too much to make it look unnatural. So that's something that I'm sure a lot of purists are like, nope, don't want it. I only want the original aspect ratio. And in which case, just don't use that feature. That's fine. I mean, I probably wouldn't use that feature. Or instead of setting it to an auto mode, which might do a little bit too much stretch, set it to a manual mode where you can like, all right, let me zoom in this much of the image and stretch out a tiny bit at the edges and still have a little bit of black bars, but still use more of the screen. It gives you those options, which is kind of cool. In a video processor, it's all about choices, right? So it gives you some choices.